Very rarely does Steam recommend me a game I actually enjoy. We've all been there, looking through our discovery queue, browsing through the recommended page, looking at what's on sale for sometimes hours on end, hoping to find something that catches our eye. I usually like opening Steam up at least once a day to see if there's anything I might be interested in, but for the past couple months, I wasn't finding anything good, until a few days ago that is, because something weird happened. Steam recommended that I check out the open world murder mystery adventure game, Paradise Killer. The huge vaporwave aesthetic vibes it was giving off was right up my alley, so that caught my attention, and after looking at the screenshots, I was definitely intrigued. The game was getting amazing reviews, and browsing through the user reviews, about 50% of them said the game was a mix between Ace Attorney and Danganronpa, and as a huge fan of both of those franchises, I knew I had to buy this game immediately. And little did I know at the time that the 20 hours I would spend on Paradise would make for a truly unforgettable experience. So, hey guys, it's Chance, and Paradise Killer is easily one of the best games of 2020. Like I mentioned before with the Ace Attorney and Danganronpa series, if you like any of those games, chances are you'll like Paradise Killer. But where those games are linear, Paradise Killer definitely isn't, and it puts a whole new spin on the murder mystery trope. And it's actually the first and only game developed by indie game studio Kaizen Gameworks. So great job guys, you really knocked it out of the park with this one. So yeah, Paradise Killer, let's get to it. That has to be one of the most soothing melodies I've ever heard. So, let's get started.
Paradise Killer.
You will soon enter a paradise where fact and truth are not the same. Huh, that sounds a little ominous. Explore paradise in your own way and find your own truth. You got it. So the beginning opens up with a bit of backstory, which I'm going to summarize to the best of my ability. You can pause it and read each individual wall of text if you want, but this is how it goes. The Syndicate are a group of immortal worshippers of dead alien gods. The goal of the Syndicate is to resurrect these cosmic gods by creating the perfect island which exists in a different reality. How do they do this? Well, by kidnapping citizens from the real world and forcing them to participate in a psychic worship ritual, of course. Oh, and the citizens don't survive this ritual, and if that sounds messed up, that's because it is. Thing is, these rituals also invite demonic corruption, which will then seep into the island, destroying it, so a new island must be created and more citizens will be kidnapped. It's a bloody cycle, but with each new island created by the Syndicate, they get closer and closer to making the perfect island with no demonic corruption. On island sequence number 13, our main character and lead investigator of the Syndicate, Lady Love Dies, yes that's her name, gets deceived by a god and ends up destroying the island. Her punishment is eternal exile and the cycle continues. On island sequence 24, some citizen named Henry Division manages to summon demons onto the island. They get fended off and the island proceeds as normal. But right when island 24 was about to end, the council, which are pretty much just high-ranking members of the Syndicate, all get murdered. So now Lady Love Dies is called out of exile to investigate. Phew, look, I know it's a lot to wrap your head around, but trust me, you'll understand it more as you play the game. Paradise Killer mostly plays like a visual novel adventure game, which means when you're not exploring the island looking for clues, you're going to be talking to all sorts of people, and maybe the occasional god or demon. So get ready to read. All conversations are saved with this neat little backlog that shows as the conversation goes on so you don't miss anything important. Also assisting you in the investigation is your laptop named Starlight. It acts as the main menu and compiles any evidence or testimony you acquire as you explore the island. And after getting a call from the ruling judge of the island, Lady Love Dies will have permission to leave her exile and get back down to the island.
Paradise Killer.
After that epic exit, she'll meet up with a longtime friend, Lydia Daybreak. And yes, everyone in this game has a sick name, and Lydia will take you to the mainland where your investigation can officially begin. And from this point on, what you do is completely up to you. No, seriously, if you open up Starlight, it'll have notes on who you should probably go and talk to and what you should investigate, but the order and what you do it in, and even if you want to do it at all, is all on you. And aside from the short intro, the story of this game isn't spoon-fed to you. There's no real narrative structure here either. The game isn't gonna hold your hand at all. That's a huge risk from the developers, because by going with this method of story interactivity, you're not ensuring that the player will see the whole truth by the end of the story. The game has a lot of faith in the player to give you this much agency, and I think that's great. I've played a ton of these visual novel adventure games, but none of them even came close to the amount of player freedom Paradise Killer gives you, which is just so refreshing for the genre. There are some tools that can help you with exploring though. Starlight can go into this cool augmented vision mode that shows you how far away you are from any points of interest or people you might want to talk to, and show an exclamation point if they have something new to tell you. The other is the fast travel system. See, payphones are scattered throughout the whole map, which act as both a save point and fast travel spot. Call up Lydia and she'll give you a ride to any other payphone you found. But it ain't free. You gotta pay to unlock the fast travel location and pay Lydia for the ride. So what's the currency of the island? Blood crystals. Yep, that's right, blood crystals. You'll find these pretty easily all over the island, so you should never worry about being broke. But now, why are blood crystals being used as currency? Look, I don't know, man. The game is weird, okay? We got a talking skeleton bartender and somebody with a goat's head. Blood being used as money is probably the least strange thing on this island. Anyway, back to exploring. The game rewards you a ton for exploring every inch of the island. You'll find blood crystals, relics, key items, evidence, all that good stuff. Oh, and you'll run into this guy a lot too. His name is Shinji. He's a funny little guy and supposedly a friendly demon according to him. Talking to him doesn't really do anything though. He says he's here because he wants to see how the island ends, but all his conversations are just really random. Half of them are jokes, and the other half are philosophical discussions, and when he's done talking, poof, he's gone. The island is full of interesting characters. The rest of the syndicate members act as your suspects for the case, and with the exception of Yuri, they all remember who Lady Love Dies is, so they know that you're there to interrogate them. But aside from just talking about the case, you can choose to just hang out with them. You know, see what's up. How's life? If they want to get a drink together sometime. What have they been up to since Lady Love Dies was exiled? Stuff like that. You don't just have to talk to them about the case, and it's through these laid-back conversations that you'll get to know them better. With this hangout mechanic, you really get to see just how fleshed out and well written these characters are. I seriously grew to love all these characters by the end of the game. Except Yuri though. I hate this guy. He mainly just berates you and calls you a freak over and over again. But even though he's an ass, he's a well-written ass. You're definitely gonna want to hang out with some characters more than others, but you really should hang out with all of them. See, once you build your relationship high enough with them, they'll feel more comfortable sharing more important information with you. And some of this info is absolutely crucial to finding the truth. But all this new information comes at a cost, and it's not one you might think. See, as you find evidence and gather testimony, you're gonna find something incriminating a suspect, and like I mentioned before, these are all great characters who you're gonna grow fond of pretty quickly. And well, this is a murder mystery game after all, so no matter how much you like these guys, one of them is the killer. Speaking of the great characters, they're all so diverse and stylish, I can't help but just love their designs. It's got that 80s boldness of colors that just pop out at you with a sort of Miami Vice kind of feel. But then you got some characters that just look like straight up demigods or something. Combine that with the whole vaporwave aesthetic, and this game has such a unique presentation that you just don't see very often. And I gotta say, I'm a big fan of the look. Really, the closest thing I could compare it to would be the Hotline Miami series, which is an amazing series of games by the way, but that comparison is only in aesthetic alone. But let's take a look at the suspect list for now. Dr. Doom Jazz. As his name would imply, he's the resident doctor for the syndicate, and he's just awesome. One of my favorite characters for sure. He's real friendly, he loves to drink, he's got metal arms, he owns a yacht, and he's got a sick mohawk. I always made sure to hang out with him every chance I got. Grand Marshal Akiko 14. She's the one in charge of security on the island. She's got a bunch of troops under her command, and it's her job to make sure the island is free of any potential threats. She's really aggressive towards Lady Love Dies early on, but she'll loosen up the more you talk to her. She'll speak in Romanian too, so get ready to be insulted in a different language. Henry Division. He's the only suspect who isn't a member of the syndicate. He's that one citizen responsible for summoning demons into the island. Remember that? Yeah, that's him. He's the main suspect of the case, and most of the syndicate members think it's him, and I'm gonna stop there, just because it's hard to talk about him without going into spoilers. Crimson Acid. She's the syndicate's idol, and she definitely sticks out. She's also a sort of merchant for secrets, so you'll be talking to her a lot. She'll sell you any dirt on the suspects for a cost. And yeah, the goat head. Apparently that's what happens when you get blessed by a certain god. She's pretty chill though. She's one of those characters you really hope has nothing to do with the murder. The Witness to the End. Even for this game, that's one hell of a name. He's a religious fanatic whose job is to oversee the end of an island sequence and make sure it all goes smoothly. He's alright I guess, but he talks about the gods way too much. He doesn't shut up about them. But his conversations do kinda give you insight into the overall mythos of Paradise Killer, so that's pretty cool. Yuri Knight. Not only is he a douche, but he has the least cool name. Alright, it's kinda cool. You know when I said I loved everybody's design? Well, that's kind of a lie because I just simply do not understand Yuri's outfit. What exactly is going on here? I can't tell if he's wearing a shirt or not. Is he like just wearing the sleeves? What sense does that make? At least Doom Jazz is just plain shirtless and Witness to the End is wearing this kind of exposed top robe thing, but this? I don't get it. Either wear a shirt or don't. Make up your mind, Yuri. To be fair though, his conversations do lead to some important revelations down the line, but yeah, I'm not a fan. Lydia and Sam Daybreak. I gotta put these two together because they're the power couple of the island. They've been married for thousands of years and they'll do anything for each other. You'll see Lydia a lot since aside from her conversations, she'll be driving you around the island, and she's also the ferry woman of the island in charge of taking the syndicate members from one island to the next. As for Sam, well, Sam is just the essence of cool. The glasses, the jacket, the whole red skeleton thing going on. He pulls it off, man. Sam is easily my favorite character. He's the super laid-back bartender of the island who just wants to spend his days developing new whiskeys with Lydia by his side. The dude's got his priorities in check. As for why he looks the way he does, that would be going into spoiler territory, so yeah, can't really say. Carmelina Silence. She's the one that probably has the most important job out of everybody here. She's the architect of the syndicate, so it's her responsibility to actually create the islands. Without her, the syndicate would be screwed. She also has one thing that no other suspect has. Her dog. The dog is cute and will change expressions along with Carmelina, and I just think that's kind of funny. Speaking of cute dogs, as you explore, you will eventually run into Bear-chan, an adorable Shiba Inu that just wants treats. She's more of a side quest than anything else, but I'm gonna be honest, I just wanted an excuse to include her here. All the other side quests involve ghosts. Yeah, it's a little strange, but all these guys are ghosts of the citizens that died during the psychic worship ritual. They can't move on until you help them out. Usually this just involves finding something for them, you know, typical fetch quest kind of thing. Most of them are easy to complete, but some are in blocked off areas. This is where Starlight comes in. See, Starlight can hack into these things called nightmare computers, and by hacking into them, you'll get access to secret areas along with other stuff like cell phone records, data logs, that kind of thing. Hacking is pretty simple, just match the pieces down here to complete the picture on top, and I don't know why, but I find this minigame to be strangely addicting. Something about completing all these pictures is just satisfying, although the later ones can get kinda tricky. Like any good detective, you're gonna be investigating the crime scene along with a few other spots of interest. When that happens, you'll go into this enhanced vision mode thing, and you're gonna wanna have to investigate as many scenes as you can, because this will matter a ton for the trial at the end of the game. So between talking to the suspects, getting to know them better, gathering evidence, hacking computers, helping ghosts with their problems, and investigating crime scenes, you're gonna have a lot to do in this game. But what you find all depends on whether or not you search the island closely enough, so you're gonna wanna have to save often, and this matters double for Paradise Killer since it doesn't have an autosave feature. This isn't a problem though, there's plenty of save points all over the place. Regardless, once you think you're ready and you're happy with all the information you've gathered, then head on over to the courthouse and have the judge call in all the suspects for the trial, and what evidence you have or even choose to present is all up to you. It's clear the developers worked really hard to tailor the story around the player's actions, so I would be doing them and anyone else who's interested in the game a huge disservice by going into spoilers, so I won't be covering the ending. But there is one major aspect of this game that I have neglected up until this point, and honestly it's what really made me fall in love with the game, so I wanted to save it for last. It's the most integral part to the whole Paradise Killer experience, and that of course is the music. Future funk is my favorite music genre, especially when combined with that kind of 80s Japanese city pop style. It's a pretty niche genre, sure, but it's just something that really appeals to me. If you've ever heard the song Dressed Down by Kaoru Akimoto, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So when I heard the Paradise Killer soundtrack, oh my god, I just about lost my fucking mind. It is easily the best video game soundtrack of 2020, and I've had it on repeat for a couple days now. In fact, all the music you've been hearing throughout this video is right from the game. And Paradise Killer knows that the soundtrack is good too. In the Starlight menu, you can see what tracks you have available and even edit and shuffle them around to make your own personal playlist. You do have to go out and collect each song though. You'll find these radio towers around the island that'll have a new song for you to add to your collection. And you can listen to any of these songs at any time and change them without even having to go through any menus. Just pick the song you want to hear and boom, pure jazz infused funky beats going directly into your ears. And let me tell you, when I discovered my first radio tower, I made it my #1 priority to find every song as soon as possible. In fact, I love the soundtrack so much that I avoided going to certain areas of the island because the more further away you are from the main city section, the lower the volume on the music. It will get replaced with ambient sounds like waves, for example. And I always wanted to keep hearing the music, so I stayed away from the more remote locations as much as possible. But you can actually change this in the music menu. See this option right here that says Island? Well, you can click on it and change it to Starlight. What this does is make it so that the music is always playing at the volume that you want it to, no matter where you are. I sadly didn't realize this was even an option till way late in the game, but that's my fault for being an idiot. I should have realized the developers would have included something like this. At the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is that Paradise Killer is an amazing game, and the whole experience is tied together by this fantastic soundtrack. If it wasn't obvious enough by now, I'm kind of obsessed with Paradise Killer. It just checks all the boxes for me. Great story, fun unique gameplay, great characters, and just one of the best video game soundtracks ever. I'm really excited to see what the developers over at Kaizen Gameworks work on next, now that I think about it. I can talk about this game forever, but I should really stop here before I spoil something. If Paradise Killer interested you in any way, I recommend picking it up. It's definitely worth buying. And that's gonna be it for me, guys. Thanks for hearing me out, and I'll see you next time. Chance out.